Rain was in the area this morning. We understand we have a big window to get this game in, and away we go as Matt Carpenter hustles out to his position on this Sunday afternoon. Along with the Mad Hungarian, Al Rabaski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Chicago Cubs and Rick Renteria today. Some changes in there. Emilio Bonifacio, the switch hitter, hitting .435, back in the lineup. Justin Ruggiano, then Anthony Rizzo. We'll highlight Nate Scherholt's big series for him. Starlin Castro, Junior Lake, Mike Alt. Wellington Castillo had the 3-run homer on Friday night. And the pitcher, an old friend, Edwin Jackson. They will face one of the game's young pitchers and young guns in Michael Wacha. Two starts for Michael Wacha. He's our Kia starter, and Al, he has been terrific.
Well, it's hard to duplicate what he did in postseason, and you just want him to just go out and utilize his good arm. What really has separated him is he is so advanced than his young age. Second youngest player on the Cardinals roster. Youngest is Carlos Martinez, but he just goes out there and wants to get better. A very good student. He listens to Carpenter and Wainwright last year. Now he just listens to Wainwright, and now the big thing is just go out there and pitch, and he does that very well.
Jumping towards the batter's box, Emilio Bonifacio. What a start he has had. He's in the top 5 in hitting, 20 hits already this season. Let go by Kansas City. Chicago looking for players that have been at this level and in many ways stopgaps until their young prospects come up, but so far so good for Bonifacio.
Well, he's very versatile, so I think that was why he was attracted to the Cubs, but I don't think they had any idea to get off to this start.
And whoever thought that he would, you and I are booking a flight to Vegas with him right after this game. Emilio Bonifacio, and there's a strike from Michael Wacha. 1 ball, 1 strike, and we're underway here in St. Louis. The Cardinals are 6-5, and the Cubs 4-7.
Wacha first showed up, he was a 2-pitch pitcher. Very good fastball, very good changeup. You know, from the 6'6" body, he very easily throws downhill and throws from the same arm angle. But he wanted to get better with a curveball. He's also worked hard on the cutter, and you know, he just wants to become a complete pitcher, and he's one of those guys that, you know, what we've seen right here, the Cardinals might want to keep him his entire career. A little bit different than Edwin Jackson.
You bet. There's a fastball that it's hit out of play. Cardinals talk about his makeup even more than his stuff and what he's done between the white lines, and they say this guy is unflappable. Never changes. He's just off the charts in terms of his makeup, and you just can't teach that. There's the changeup taken high, and it's 3-2.
One of the things I've noticed, and it's kind of a byproduct, early in the season you're a little bit amped up, but sometimes that changeup's been thrown a little bit too hard, and a lot of times it's up. Throwing the pitch up to Bonifacio is not a bad idea. He has very little power. His strength is slap and run, so he's going to want to swing down on the ball and just almost with a running start. But if he hits the ball in the air, it's going to come down. It's going to be a catch. You can see how shallow the outfielders are playing.
Three-two, lifted in the air. Left center, Borges calling for it. He has it. A look at the umpires. Jerry Lane is our crew chief. He's behind home plate. Hunter Windelstad at first. Gabe Morales at second. And Mike Estabrook is at third. A couple weeks into replay, we had a challenge call yesterday that hurt the Cardinals. But I think for the most part, so far, so good.
It hurt the Cardinals, but it didn't ultimately hurt them on the scoreboard. You scored 10 runs and have 13 hits. Season highs for the Cardinal offense. But the big thing is the umpires got it right.
They've chased ball 3. This is Justin Ruggiano. Came over from the Miami Marlins.
Ruggiano had a birthday this weekend, and I think we were both a bit surprised that he's 32.
Very.
Thought he was much younger than that. Just missing on that last delivery.
The 3-1 pitch. Ruggiano fouls it back just below us. And a souvenir here at the ballpark, and again it's still filling up. I'm sure some of the fans over at Scott Trade Center to watch the St. Louis Blues, their season finale. They'll open up the playoffs on Thursday at Scott Trade Center, and you can see the first round right here on Fox Sports Midwest. There's a base hit into left center field for Justin Ruggiano. Borges cuts it off, and it's a 1-out hit. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Let's take a look.
Well, a lot of this down the middle of the plate, and pitch right there is going to be hit. Just a single. One of the things that Waka had problems in the home opener is the leadoff man of an inning was doing a lot of damage against him. So he got Bonifacio out, but now he just need to get Rizzo.
In the air, deep right. Craig looks up, and it's gone. Anthony Rizzo, a 2-run shot here in the first. Led their team in home runs with 23 a year ago, and his second in 2014. Sit on down, Cub fans.
2 more RBIs. He's up to 8 right now, and one of the things that these Cubs are going to be doing, they're going to be swinging early in the count, thinking that Waka's going to try and get ahead in the count. Later on, he'll probably work on his secondary pitches, particularly the changeup. So they're going to jump on any first pitch fastball they see.
And Rizzo knew it. Nate Schierholtz, Cardinals have had fits with him. Average now above 300 at 306. Had a 4-hit night in game 1. And yesterday, 2 hits.
Schierholtz really took advantage of coming to the Cubs and getting a chance to play every day last year. Hit 21 home runs, had career highs there, doubles.
Really a surprise, as he was more of a role player the year before with San Francisco. First strikeout for Waka, and there's 2 down. Look at the defense behind him. Around the horn, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, with Holiday, Borges, and Craig in the outfield. Carpenter and Peralta on the left side, Wong and Adams on the right side of the infield, and Yadier Molina, 6 consecutive Gold Gloves behind home plate. Here is Starlin Castro, 326, couple of home runs, 8 RBIs. He's off to a good start.
And a bit surprising because he had virtually no spring training. Injured a right hamstring early in camp, and really only played right at the very end, and yet he's gotten off to the good start.
They have Javier Baez, Chris Bryant, Solar, who's a 22-year-old outfielder that they love. And then you mix in Castro and Rizzo. They do believe there's a bright future for the Chicago Cubs. Some of that future on display today. 2-0. After a half inning of play, Matt Carpenter leads it off at even 300 average. Then Colton Wong and Matt Holiday. Matt Adams, Yadier Molina, Alan Craig. Craig 7 for 15 with a double against Jackson. Then Peralta, who had yesterday off, Peter Borges and Michael Waka. So Matt Carpenter even 300 average, 1 home run, 6 RBIs as he walks into the batter's box here at Busch Stadium. Hard throwing right-hander Edwin Jackson gets the call today for Chicago.
Well, he's been around a long time with many different clubs. Originally signed by the Dodgers as an outfielder. They immediately made him a pitcher. One thing about Jackson is he will take the ball. He will give you a start every 5 days. And, you know, he's under 500 lifetime. But the fact that he'll take the ball every 5th day, he'll be at that 200 pitch or 200 innings mark, becomes a valuable person. But this is his 8th different ball club now.
And as we found out, not a bad guy, a good guy.
Good guy.
And you think if you're with 8 different teams, there must be something behind the scenes that's going on.
Well, and he's got good stuff, but he's very inconsistent. It's almost like one good start, one bad start. And he's really never had much success against the Cardinals. They've got good numbers against him.
1 ball and 2 strikes, and you go down the list of some of the names that he's been traded for or been a part of in these deals. Some of the biggest names currently in baseball. And he was very good down the stretch for the Cardinals in 2011. Check swing, and Carpenter held up. It's 2-2.
Matter of fact, he had a very good game against the Chicago Cubs that really helped propel the Cardinals to postseason late that 2011 campaign.
This is what Matt Carpenter can do time and time again. 2 borderline pitches, great batter's eye, disciplined strike zone. One of the best right now in baseball, going deep into counts. And he shoots it out to left center. Ruggiano, though, with room, and makes the catch. Well, you just saw Justin Ruggiano. Junior Link is in left. Nate Shearholtz in right. That's the Cubs outfield as we go around the horn. Presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Alt, Castro on the left side of the infield. Bonifacio and Rizzo on the right side. Wellington, Castillo. He's behind the plate. And a ball to Colton Wong. One ball, 1 strike. Was talking with somebody this morning, Al, about the loss of Carlos Beltran, how this lineup does look much differently than it did a year ago with Beltran in that 2nd spot in the lineup.
Part of that's only because that you know, Peralta and Allen Craig have gotten off to slow starts. If they were hitting like we believe they will, then you don't miss Beltran as much.
Slapped the other way, and that drops in for a base hit for Colton Wong. Long turnaround at first base, but stops there on High Sox Sunday.
Wong to that bat, almost resting on his shoulders. Then he'll take it up, get to his trigger spot, and the pitch out away, and just lets the ball get deep, and then he'll pull that trigger. Good concentration there on the pitch away. Kind of curious that the Cubs signed Edwin Jackson, a fly ball pitcher, to pitch at Wrigley Field. Now, there a lot of times the wind will blow in early in the year, but it blows out late in the season. And Edwin Jackson, his first year in Chicago, led the major leagues in losses.
18 last year. Inside to Holiday. 3 years left on the deal for Edwin Jackson. So he'll be sticking around for a while. His ERA was 4.98. And he struggled down the stretch in that rotation for the Cubs. 1-7 in his final 10 starts. And on the year, opponents hit close to 300 against him, 281. One ball, 1 strike on Matt Holliday. Had a couple of hard hit balls yesterday and still trying to get on track.
Matt's just too good of a hitter. He's been around too long. He's got too much of a pedigree. At he will hit. Last year he got off to the slow start, but he really made up for it the second half. You know he'd like to get started a little quicker. Big gap out in left center. Gonna pitch him in. It's kind of surprising with that gap out in left center and his ability to take so many balls up the middle that you would give him that left center gap.
That stance of Matt Holliday has never changed. You know, for a guy that has hit well above 300 in his career, some will hit a rut, decide to change their stance. We saw that all the time with Yadier Molina, but Holliday, this has been the way he's looked since day one.
Well, when you're a career .311 hitter, the big league level, white change.
Right.
And like you said, Yadi was constantly changing. He became a much better hitter when he stayed with one approach.
A 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Molina, the 43 RBIs against Chicago since 2011. That's most in the big leagues. Holliday, most home runs with 11.
Edwin Jackson has made 6 starts here at Busch Stadium prior to today. 0-4 with an ERA over 9.
The 2-2 inside. Let's see if they want to start the runner. Colton Wong. I would think they would. When you think about Holliday, makes contact a lot of times, hard hit balls, hit into a lot of double plays a year ago.
Exactly. All the indications is with especially the speed of Colton Wong. Remember last year at AAA he was 20 for 21 in stolen bases, gets good jumps. I would run him.
There he goes, and it's taken for a ball. First walk issued by Edwin Jackson, and it brings in Matt Adams. So Jim Hayes had a report on Matt Adams the other day talking about the elbow and finally feeling healthy. And we're seeing that here with Adams being able to spray the ball all over the place.
Well, he's kind of finding a little bit humorous. Everybody talking about how many hits he's getting to left field. He said, when my elbow's healthy, I've always been able to use the entire field.
And the point being is that with the elbow the way that it was, he could not get full extension. And I've talked to him about that. Especially last year, we were in Oakland and he had that brace that made it cumbersome for him to extend.
Didn't bother him in September, though.
No, it did. The strike on Adams. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Edwin Jackson is tough to play defense behind him. He'll keep his defenders out there a long time, as he's a very slow, deliberate worker. It's almost like he's going to have a high pitch count all the time because he always, you know, going to go deep into a count with a hitter.
1-2. And this is why so many around baseball look at him and say, why can't he do that every time? That pitch right there was nasty.
Nasty curveball there. He still has a good life on his fastball. You know, he's got the pitches. He's got the repertoire. You know, it's just that, and I think every pitching coach says, I think I can speed him up. I can do this. I can do that. And then he gets traded to the next guy that thinks he can do it.
1-2 pitch. Adams with a fly ball. Out to deep left center. Ruggiano makes the catch on the track. Colton Wong tags up from second to third. Holliday stays put. Runners at the corners for Yadier Molina.
Talking about Jackson being a fly ball pitcher. You're seeing it this inning. A nice ovation for Yadier. MLB this offseason had a little kind of a poll around baseball. Who is the face of every franchise? It was not even close with the Cardinals. Yadier Molina was the overwhelming, it was over 70% of him receiving all Cardinal fan vote for the face of the franchise.
I was talking with Yadi the other day, and I asked him, I said, at this point in your career, what still motivates you? What gets you going? And he said, the reception I get at home is something that I still get goosebumps with. And he said, if you want to stay at a high level, you better work at a high level. He's the first guy at spring training. Many times he's the first guy to the ballpark.
Talked about it earlier, Dan, that how many different stance Yadier Molina had. Those were the early days here, but of late he's really come up with one stance. Now he's perfected it into the fact of just how loose, how relaxed he is, and yet he can have that violent swing when he sees a pitch that he likes. I think the influence of Albert Pujols has been dramatic on Yadier Molina. He has made him now, okay, you're really good, but now how can you be great? And that's what he strives for, that perfection.
Would you agree that getting out of the Pujols shadow, so to speak, was beneficial for Yadi?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It seemed like his career got to another level when Pujols decided to sign with the Angels.
Well, it gave him that, natural leadership spot.
The 2-1.
He's revered by the pitching staff. So good at framing pitches, calling the games. And he can hit Edwin Jackson.
522 and 3 home runs.
And those home runs have been hit against 3 different teams.
Right. The 2-2. And Yadi hits a line drive out to right that should be caught. Shearholtz is there. The Cardinals strand 2. And after an inning of play here at Busch Stadium, 2-0 Chicago.
Road trip. And Edwin Jackson, you just got to go out there and you just got to be patient with him. He's going to give you a pitch to hit. Just be ready for that. He's got good stuff, but he'll make enough mistakes in the strike zone you can pay off.
26 pitches in the first inning for Edwin Jackson. And after an outing that saved the Cubs bullpen by Chris Rusin yesterday, he was sent out to Iowa, and Blake Parker, a right-hander, is available in their pen today.
Rusin got rewarded for all that 5 innings, right?
Save the bullpen and see you later.
And because he was not available for three days or so, you can bring in another fresh arm. Thanks a lot.
Here's Junior Lake. Now let's take a look at the changeup of Michael Wacha. And some refer to it as a left-handed slider, even a screwball.
Yes, it has that type of action. Where sometimes, if to a right-handed batter, that ball, will almost look like it has a little right turn going in on them. Obviously, he's got the same arm angle. He's 6'6" to begin with, throws the ball from a high release point.
It's sharply to third, and Carpenter can't come up with it. E5 on the play. Matt Carpenter has played, by the way, very well defensively at third.
I was going to say that ball was hit hard, but Matt knows he should have made this play and just kind of got away from him, and he has played spectacular over at third base, his natural position, and he's made some plays. We didn't know he was capable of making them, but he's shown great range, and probably one of the simpler ones he's had. Commits an error.
Michael Alt. He's primarily been coming off the bench. Got some power, a couple of home runs, 4 RBIs. One of the coaches was telling me before the game about Matt Carpenter. They've been impressed on his leads on double plays. The way that he's able to lead that second baseman on a turn. As Wong puts it away. If anybody knows about a turn, it's Matt Carpenter.
Exactly. And you know how you can hang out a second baseman to dry if you make a poor throw and you bobble the ball and let that runner get down on top of him. So he's doing what he needs to do because he knows what appreciates when he does get a good throw.
Very good defensive game for Wellington Castillo on Friday night, and then had the 3-run homer in extra innings to seal a victory.
Probably an underrated catcher, wouldn't you say, an all-around player?
Absolutely. He's impressed me, and I know the Cubs brass, and they are here. Jed Hoyer, their general manager, they like the way that he calls a game, but specifically dealing with a younger staff and some of the young players that have had them called up the last couple of years. A souvenir for the fans down the right side.
Most important thing for a catcher is handling that pitching staff, and then when you can provide offense on top of it, then you got something a little special.
One out, runner at first, no balls and 2 strikes on the 8th place hitter.
Sometimes a byproduct of working so hard on your secondary pitches, I mean in his case the curveball and the cutter, is you kind of lose what was one of your strengths, and we've seen the changeup really not as effective this year yet.
Pulled down the left field line and out of play. But as you touched upon the start of our telecast here today, the curveball is much improved, and the Cardinals have talked about how he stays behind the curveball. It's not just spinning, but it's something that's a pitch, a feel for him every 5th day.
Oh, and he's starting to learn how to throw a get ahead breaking ball and then throw a tighter one with better velocity to kind of put you away. But it's really the fastball changeup combination is really what got him to the big leagues. But he wasn't content just to be 4-1 in the postseason, being the MVP of the league championship series. So he really worked hard this offseason perfecting those other pitches.
Good pitch there. That was the cutter. And a strikeout. His 3rd of the day. Brings in Edwin Jackson.
See, he throws that cutter, and just all he doesn't have to break is just a little bit. Just to have a little bit of movement. Toughest thing in all sports, trying to hit a round baseball with a round bat.
The shot from Ballpark Village. Windy day here at the ballpark, and here's Edwin Jackson. Jackson on the first pitch pops it up. Foul territory. Matt Carpenter is there to make the catch. That sends us to the home half of the second. The Cardinals have Craig, Peralta, Borges. The strikeout of Castillo. 3 today for Walkup. And Jim, Johnny Peralta, 2 hits this season. That's it. Both have been home runs. What's happening with his approach?
Yeah, I was asking Peralta about his slow start before the game. He said he's not overly concerned about it. He got a day off from Mike Matheny yesterday. Peralta told me he used it to look at video. He said he was comparing his swing from last season when he was in the groove to this season. And Dan, he says it's the same swing. He says he's hitting the ball pretty hard. And I know fans are probably looking for a more complicated explanation. He says, Dan, he's just starting off slow and it will come around.
Also a very slow start under the watchful eye of John Mabry for Alan Craig. So Craig, Peralta, Borges, and Jim, before we let you go, you tweeted out that there is some weather coming into St. Louis. Is that correct?
Yeah, I heard from some folks down here that there is some rain coming in. They're expecting it to be here at about 2 o'clock. They're not sure how long, but they do anticipate there will be more baseball beyond that.
And you can follow Jim, the Cat on Fox. He is on Twitter this year, the Cat on Fox, and that is the latest breaking news and the greatest news that you can find coming from Jim Hayes.
I was going to ask you for that Twitter handle, but because I really want to follow Jim.
And yours is what, Al? What are you up to now? How many followers?
How many followers? It's 72 million. And, well, when you got 72 million followers, you don't need to give the handle out.
Nicely done, Al. 3-0 on Alan Craig. With as much as guys change teams now, Al, and it was a little different when you were playing, there were trades clearly. You did see guys leave your team and you may face them, but who has the advantage in those spots? You know, when Edwin Jackson is pitching for the Cardinals in 2011, they're going to break down everything he does right, everything he does wrong, and it is a game of adjustments, but who has the upper hand when you face each other?
Well, I think the advantage always goes to a pitcher. He knows what he wants to throw you. He should always throw his strength, even if it matches up with your strength. But, you know, when you're not facing guys, you haven't faced guys a lot in the past, the first time that meeting would be the pitcher's favor.
Here's Johnny Peralta, 2 for 32 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. Leadoff walk, the second issued by Edwin Jackson. Outfield is deep and straight away.
Peralta has 36 at bats against Edwin Jackson. 10 for 36, a home run, 4 RBIs. So Johnny has a pretty good idea what Edwin Jackson's going to throw. Jackson knows what his strengths are, what as a pitcher, and what the hitter's strengths are also.
Johnny now 31 years old, 2-time All-Star. Most recently last season. Member of Detroit, had 8 seasons with Cleveland, 3 with the Tigers, and now here in St. Louis. The 8th different opening day shortstop for the Cardinals. 8 consecutive years. Different face out there at short.
It seems like second base has kind of had its share of revolving doors there.
Good point.
Peralta, a 4-year contract, and he may not play shortstop all 4 of those years, but Pete Kozma was good enough to play in 27 postseason games the last couple of years, most by any major league shortstop, but tough find in the field this year.
The 2-1. 3-1.
What we talked about with Edwin Jackson, you know, a lot of deep counts. You got the infielders all standing around. They get flat-footed.
Third baseman Mike Alt, hands on his hips. Here's a 3-1 pitch. 3-2. By the way, the Cardinals have Mark Ellis on a rehab assignment. He's at AAA Memphis, dealing with left knee patella tendonitis, and he is singled in his first at bat this afternoon.
He can stay down there as long as 20 days, but I doubt it'll be that long.
Three and 2 with Alan Craig, the runner at first.
Castro, who they at times wonder is his head in the game.
That's ripped out to left field. Drops in for a hit.
We talked about one of the keys with Edwin Jackson is just be patient, because he'll make enough mistakes in the middle of the strike zone that you'll get your chances. And Johnny Peralta jumped on that high delivery.
Peter Borges Was hitless on the first road trip. Average now at 207. 1 for 4 with a double in this series.
Yeah, but he's a lifetime 375 hitter in Busch Stadium. All this homestand.
Big sample size, huh?
Yeah.
You've been doing your homework again. First pitch, a breaking ball and a strike. Michael Wacha is on deck. So runners at first and second. A walk to Craig. Peralta the base hit on a 3-2 pitch. And here's the 0-1 to Borges.
Showed you that last shot, so we'll get ready for Washington.
Better go higher.
Oh, higher.
We're higher. Pittsburgh and Washington, the broadcast booth might as well put us at the top of the stadium.
Just below the light standards, right?
And a swing and a miss by Borges. First strikeout for Edwin Jackson. Well, Michael Wacha coming into the season not even at 100 pitches, or rather 100 innings thrown in the major leagues, and yet he has his own bobblehead night.
I think he earned it last year.
I do too. Busch Stadium was packed on Friday for that giveaway.
I don't think we'd mind seeing Michael Wacha souvenirs for the next 20 years.
Corners are brought in. Wacha squares to bunt and gets it down. Rizzo will give it a look, but the only play is the first, and the sacrifice is good, and the runners advance to second and third.
A lot of people talk about Wacha as kind of a clone of Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright helped his own cause bunting, swinging away with an RBI single yesterday, and there's so many different ways a pitcher can help his own cause just when he's standing in that batter's box.
The Cubs believe, Al, that Anthony Rizzo will be a Gold Glover at some point, and with a left-handed throwing first baseman, you really have to deaden that bunt, which is what he did. That's not an easy play.
And they kind of almost bunted it right to the third baseman, who was right down on top of him. And I was a little surprised that he didn't, give a little more of a look to third base. Rizzo turned around and filled the ball, and so tough situation right there, and Walker was outstanding in getting both runners advanced.
This will already be pitch number 43 for Edwin Jackson. Carpenter with a base hit could tie it up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Flied out his first time up to deep left center. '78 RBIs last year, 69 from the top spot in the lineup. Was there a player that made more adjustments last year at the big league level than Matt Carpenter? And what I'm saying is switching a position, moving up in a lineup.
I don't think there is. And Cardinal offense was a little stagnant last year early, and when they made the decision to change the closers and also put Carpenter in the leadoff spot when the Cardinal team took off last year.
One ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 on. Carpenter stays alive. One thing that Matt does, talking with him the other day, with 2 strikes, and we've talked about it a lot, not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, prefers it that way. You mentioned it earlier with Colton Wong, how he lets the ball get deep, and so he makes that decision, just that last split second to foul a pitch off and then earn another pitch and find a pitch to drive. 2-2.
Carpenter already sets up deep in the batter's box. So by letting the ball travel further, deeper to you, you allow on a breaking ball, you can see the break. You're not fooled by that. You're not out on your front foot. And it really allows you to really hit the ball to all fields, particularly to the opposite field, by letting the ball travel deep.
Carpenter up the middle, base hit. And this game is tied on a 2-2 pitch. Carpenter delivers with 2 down here in the second. All tied up at 2. What a great at bat, huh?
Well, you think you get 2 strikes on him. You think you're in the driver's seat. But he's just so good that you might make an outstanding pitcher's pitch, but he'll foul that pitch off. And then finally you'll make a mistake. Not that that's a mistake. That's a pretty good pitch down and away. But with allowing it to come in, that good balance right there, taking it right up the middle. And he's one of those guys that even from the leadoff spot is very comfortable in an RBI situation and can come through.
There goes Carpenter. He's running. Throw to second. Safe. Stolen base for Carpenter.
Picked the breaking ball there, and that's the difference. And allowed him that extra step to get in there right ahead of the tag.
77 RBIs. The leadoff hitter since 2013.
No doubt he's safe right there. It's great camera action right there. Hyundai showing you that he was ahead of the tag.
Talked so much about the Cardinals and what they did with runners in scoring position a year ago, but also what they did with 2 outs. Numbers were quite gaudy in that regard too.
Some players didn't make a difference.
No. Base hit could put the Cardinals on top. Good cut by Colton Wong. We've had an extended time now to watch Wong. Give me your just impressions, general sense of what you've seen.
I like my impressions a lot more this year than a year ago. Last year I was convinced that he could play defense at the major league level, but I really questioned whether he could hit. And then we saw at the beginning of spring training 0 for 10. But he took off and had the best spring of any of the Cardinals.
And that's a base hit into right. Here comes Carpenter. The throw from Sherholtz. No throw. Carpenter scores. Wong delivers. Birds on top.
Colton's 4th RBI gives the Cardinals the 3-2 lead. This is the Cardinal offense that we're accustomed to seeing. Yesterday they had their season high in home runs and RBIs. Breaking ball coming right into the left-handed swing. Pulls it through the right side. And with 2 outs, even though your third place hitter's coming up, they're going to go ahead and send him home. And why not? There was no throw. That stolen base really was key there, getting himself in scoring position so he could score on Colton Wong's base hit, an RBI.
Extends the inning to Holiday. He walked his first time up. Cardinals, a little bit of that small ball here in this inning when you think about the sacrifice by Michael Wacha to bring up Carpenter with 2 outs. Carpenter's stolen base, that generates a run.
How many times, Dan, you would see somebody, sacrifice in that situation, but you see with runners in scoring position, first 6 games, they weren't very good. But they're picking up the pace. Things are getting a lot better. And I think that's going to be, we're going to see that trend more so than the first 6 games. But a lot of times, teams will sacrifice with the second out, and you go, why? That leadoff guy probably is not going to score him. But with Carpenter, you got a legitimate chance. You know that he can get that job done. And hitting becomes contagious. you get something going with the bottom of the order, the way the Cardinal offense can turn over, they just keep on rolling through.
Another check on Colton. Edwin Jackson had 52 pitches.
It's getting that defense really just back on their heels.
Out of play, nothing in 2 the count. Well, there was a lot of attention on Starlin Castro. You may remember it was an ESPN Sunday night telecast. They had a camera on him, and Bobby Valentine didn't hold back. He was working at that point in time on those Sunday night games, and Castro, let's just say he was disinterested.
And this is the first time in this series we've seen this from Castro, and we're seeing it from a lot of the defenders for the Cubs. And it's just because of the slow pace of Edwin Jackson.
Up the middle, that's a base hit on an 0-2 pitch. Wong digging for third. 4 hits in the inning.
That just blisters that ball. Hits the ball so hard. Yeah, he hit in a lot of ground ball double plays, but more times than not, he'll just drive that ball through the infield.
Now the real concern right now for the Chicago Cubs has been their bullpen, but also does Jackson have anything right now that he can put hitters away with? He's getting to 2 strikes. He can't put these hitters away.
Well, and like I said, it's a very curious move to a 4-year, $52 million contract for Jackson last season. When you play 81 games at Wrigley Field, you really don't want a fly ball pitcher on the mound, and that's what Jackson is.
Matt Adams. Runners at the corners, 2 down. Matt first time up. Flied out to deep left center field. Catch made on the track by Ruggiano. Adams goes the other way, and Alt is there across the diamond and makes the play. But the Cardinals get 4 hits and 3 2-out RBIs and their first lead in Game 3. Michael Wacha pitching now with a 3-2 lead. The packed house here in St. Louis. Carpenter the single to drive in 2. Colton Wong with the RBI as well. Adds up to a 3-2 lead. Emilio Bonifacio, Justin Ruggiano, and Anthony Rizzo homered. Due up for Chicago here in the top of the 3rd. Oh, and 2. The lights have popped on here at Busch Stadium.
Take a little bit of time for those lights to go into effect. Also saw the members of the ground crew talking to our home plate umpire, the crew chief. It's usually an indication that there is weather in the area or soon.
Talking with Mike Matheny about Wacha's first start of the season, which happened on opening day. First start here at Busch Stadium, the home opener. And I said, do you do anything to calm him down, to talk to him? You know, we forget he's only 22. Mike had a little smile on his face, and he said, we just leave him alone. He said, he's not your normal 22-year-old.
No, so far advanced, just the way he handles himself and doesn't let things get too distracting.
May have hung that, but gets away with it. Bonifacio strikes out. That's 4 today for Michael Wacha.
Breaking ball, and like you said, kind of sat there a little bit, but guy that's off to a torrid start, Bonifacio, swings through it and misses.
Ruggiano pops one foul. He singled and scored back in the first inning on the 2-run homer by Rizzo. He's on deck. The cover is now off the tarp. Could be a matter of moments before we see some rain here at the ballpark.
Sounds like a little thunder too.
3-1 the count.
I would think that the Cardinals would not want to see Wacha's outing being shortened much more than the Cubs would see Jackson.
First walk issued by Michael Wacha. Fox Sports Supports is proud to collaborate with Stand Up to Cancer. Groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives now. For more information, visit Fox Sports Supports, all one word.com. Ruggiano had a very good year a season ago with Miami. Opened a lot of eyes that both teams. Bogusevic went the other way. Ruggiano came to Chicago. That's hammered but pulled foul. And speaking of cancer research, 5 years now cancer-free Anthony Rizzo. Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in the fight against cancer.
Good change up there, and that one was at 86 miles an hour. We've seen that change up being thrown at 88, 89 even, and it's a little too hard at that speed.
The 0-2. The fly ball high in the air. Borges makes the catch. Ruggiano back to the bag at first.
Even on that ball right there, just a routine fly ball out there. I'm sure Alan Craig was telling Peter Borges that Ruggiano, the runner at first base, was not tagging up. But you could just see how he kind of circled that ball to get his momentum coming forward. So even though when somebody's not running, see how he kind of goes around, and then Craig's saying he's not running, but he was getting in position. And if they would have told him he's running, he would have been in good position to come forward and make a strong throw.
Nate Scherholtz takes a changeup low. If you get to the ballpark early enough and Cardinals are taking BP, watch Peter Borges out in center. He uses it as a training tool, but he chases down everything during batting practice. You get to really see that speed, and a pickoff and a throw down to second, and got him. Ruggiano is picked off. We're midway through 3. And coming up for St. Louis, Yadier Molina, Alan Craig, and the man with the tag, Johnny Peralta. Jerry Lane, the crew chief, home plate umpire today, said we continue to play. It's a light rain right now as we flash back. Yadier Molina. Al told you Edwin Jackson. 3 different uniforms. 3 different home runs for Yadi against Jackson.
In Chicago last season, 2012, it was against Washington. And back in 09, when Jackson was with Detroit, Yadi hit a home run.
Molina lined out to right first time up.
As long as the weather's like this, they'll play through it.
Molina 2 for 3 yesterday, scored a run. And he's done that 7 straight times against the Chicago Cubs. One more game like that, and he'll tie the club's all-time record for most consecutive games against one opponent with at least 2 hits and a run scored. Well, he's on his way. There's your base hit to start the bottom of the third from Molina. Cardinals score 6. Get any size coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just 50 cents the next day. Keep the savings going all season long at your nearest On the Run. Molina the base hit into center, and here is Allen Craig.
How many times have we said a guy struggling gets a few walks in a row and it all of a sudden sets up that all of a sudden he's seeing the ball better and it goes on a hit and tear. Allen Craig walked the first time up.
Eleven different Cardinals took an at bat yesterday. 7 of the 11 reach base. Rain is picked up just a bit. And I think with that, that's going to be it. They see that ball slip out of the hand of Jackson, and Jerry Lane said that's enough. We don't need to get anybody hurt, so we have a stoppage at 2:20 here in St. Louis. Billy Finley and the crew here in St. Louis rush to get the tarp on the field. And because of this, good friends at Helitech sponsor our rain delays. Heal your home with Helitech. Helitech rain delay with nobody out the bottom of the third. And a single by Yadier Molina. Ball 1 on Allen Craig. We'll have more to come during this Helitech rain delay. This will be shy of an hour, but still, for these pitchers, long time to sit. That always plays into what you may do from a managerial perspective.
Well, you'd like to hope that you mentally prepare for this and you don't have a problem physically restarting the engine and getting ready to go out and compete. As I said, it's probably a lot easier for Edwin Jackson. He's a veteran, been around a long time. He's encountered these situations. Something relatively new for Michael Wacha, but I'm sure he'll be back too. But if there's any indications, they would be very cautious with Wacha.
Fans returning to their seats. Allen Craig, first time up, walked and scored. That was back in the second inning. The Cardinals, just joining us, fell behind early on. Anthony Rizzo with a 2-run shot. Then the Cardinals sent 8 men to the plate in the home half of the second. Took the lead 3-2. That's where we stand right now. And, you know, Jim Hayes has been digging for stories. What do you have, Jimmy?
Well, these guys have become experts at killing time. But one thing that they're not doing in the Cardinal clubhouse is playing ping pong. That ping pong table that was in the clubhouse in Jupiter was transported back to St. Louis, but the Cardinals gave that up as part of a charity event. We understand there's a new ping pong table on order, but it hasn't arrived. So those guys, Dan, they might have had to read a book or something.
Imagine that. Edwin Jackson so far, high pitch count. It's at 60. It still has yet to record an out here in the third. That ping pong table was the talk of spring training. A short lead at first by Molina.
Borges is the king of ping pong for the Cardinals, right?
Very good player. Wait a minute, get that off the screen. We've got baseball going on over here. That's over at Ballpark Village. There we go. Hello, Ballpark Village. Big gap in left center for Craig. 1-0 pitch.
Before we were so rudely interrupted with a 45-minute or 46-minute rain delay. Alan Craig walked his first time up, and we now hit him with a 2-0 count. I'm a firm believer when you start taking walks, start getting the count in your favor, you're about ready to go on a hitting tear.
The 2-0. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Pitch up there, you don't want to chase.
A lot of the ground balls that Craig has hit here the first couple of weeks have been to the right side. We see the Cubs shading him to the opposite field, so just wonder if he's just a tick off, a tick late with some of these swings.
Yeah, it looks like his swing is a little bit slower and kind of feeling for the ball, maybe kind of guessing on the strike zone a little bit, but it's too much of a hitter. Proven track record, he'll get it straightened out.
The Cardinals in the home half of the second scored all their runs with 2 outs. 2-out RBI base hit by Matt Carpenter. Then Colton Wong with a single to right. And that scored Carpenter after he stole second. The 2-2. Trying to bust him in again.
Yeah, they're trying to get in on him. And remember when he first came up, you know, National League or Major League pitchers were thinking the way he held his hands that he would have a long swing. Well, he proved that he could hit the ball inside. But right now it just looks like he's vulnerable to the pitch inside. A little bit slow with that bat.
The day that we have a rain delay, the right guy is on the mound.
They'd have him on the mound. Human rain delay at the plate.
It was what, Mike Hargrove, wasn't he?
Yep, Mike Hargrove. It's funny because what we used to call Mike Hargrove, you know, the human rain delay was he would take one after every pitch. He'd finish with his gloves and do all these different things. Now every hitter does it.
I've had more fans tell me their frustration with Skip Schumacher. One of the most likable guys. But when he would step out and it became a habit for him, he would readjust the batting gloves, strap it one way, pull it off, the Velcro and the gloves, then dig back in. I said, I love watching Skip Schumacher play. However, I can't stand watching him hit.
And, you know, it still is a rule in the National League. But once you get to the batter's box, you have to ask permission to leave the batter's box. That's obviously not enforced.
Another look over by Jackson and a 2-2 pitch as Craig sends it out of play. That's what was interesting about replay. At the time frame that managers have to go out and challenge a call. Once the pitcher toes the rubber and the hitter is back in the batter's box, the previous play is thought to be done. That was your time frame to get it done. Well, apparently with Edwin Jackson, you can rewind as much as you want and take a look at previous at bats. It's another 2-2 pitch. Nope. Steps off.
That threat to run over at first base, Yadier Molina, is getting into the head of Edwin Jackson. He knows he's about ready to take off any second.
Craig strikes out. Second strikeout for Jackson.
Right over the top of the breaking ball. Looked like the head came out.
And now it's Johnny Peralta. Lined a base hit to left on a 3-2 pitch back in the second. That was his first hit other than a home run this year.
Get back on track, Johnny.
Had the day off yesterday. Really a mental break. A lot of swings for Peralta in the cage. And he grounds it to short and a double play. 6-4-3. Michael Wacha returns to the mound when we come back. Michael Wacha back out for the fourth inning. Long rain delay of 46 minutes as it hit at 2:20 local time. Wacha has struck out 4. He's walked 1 and given up a 2-run homer to Anthony Rizzo. You wonder, with more weather coming in, how many innings the Cardinals can get in today. And then you start to think about just how long you can go with a young, very precious arm that the Cardinals have out there in Michael Wacha.
You're concerned about a 46-minute rain delay, but the first thing is you ask Michael Wacha is, you know, are you okay? You want to go back out there? And he's a competitor, so he'll say yes, but you'll keep a little closer eye. And, you know, if you had a lengthy rain delay, say in the next couple innings, you know, then you maybe say, okay, you're not going back out.
How beautiful does this field look? Opening day, the plush green grass. And
I was just thinking about all of our yards look good with all this rain we've gotten recently.
Little check swing by Nate Scherholtz, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Bill Finley, who's been here for a number of seasons, and his crew, a lot of hours they put in.
If you put your Scott's fertilizer down when you were supposed to, then your lawn at home would be popping out green right now.
Scott's, and the catch is made. Gardening tips from the Mad Hungarian. You never know what you're going to hear on these telecasts, Al, and more specifically what comes out of your mouth.
And you'd be the first one to know, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'm telling you, I've heard some things. You've taught me some things over the years, Al.
You told me your mother was a little concerned about a comment I made last night.
Well, yeah, you were talking about, was it my ego?
No, it's just your big head. You can determine whether it's the size of your cranium or if it's your big ego.
Well, the ego is huge. And then the size of the forehead over at Ballpark Village is scary. It is apparently frighten young children. Here's Starlin Castro.
But your mother was a little concerned that
Yeah, I called her yesterday just to check in on her. Lovely Jane, lives in South City and never misses a game. And we exchanged pleasantries, and then at the very end she said, you know, was Al, you know, are you guys okay? Was Al serious? I said, Mom, it's okay. Now, I am 40 now, Al, and yet my mother still checks in on me to make sure everything's all right.
in her mind, you're still little Danny.
Oh, absolutely.
4 years old. Just dropped at 0.
That's right. The 2-2. Castro spoils it. This is my 17th year of doing Cardinals baseball, and I believe this is number 30 for you.
I believe so.
30
I can't
years.
count that high.
Congratulations. We have had a lot of fun. Ripped into center field, but Borges is there to make the catch. Oh! Nearly dropped it. Just shaking his head right now. He had the drop on the opener in Cincinnati. And 2 hands and got it.
I remember the one error he did make was a ball that hit him in the heel of the glove and it'll pop out. That one looked like it was very similar, but at least he was in a position where he could catch it after it popped out. We haven't seen quite the center fielder defensively as he's advertised, but I'm sure we will.
Here's Junior Lake, and he pulls it foul.
Junior Lake, remember, he had really quite the tear in 64 games last year, or 67 games. He had 64 hits in the second half, and he did something that put him in legendary category. He had two four-hit games in those first 16 games. Nobody had done that in the National League since Bo Hart.
That's legendary status right there. That's up the middle and a base hit. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis on Fox Sports Midwest, along with the Mad Hungarian, Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin, Jim Hayes, and Ballpark Village. Mike Alt popped out to second. Been some hard hit balls against Waka, and Alt shaking his hand. And did the umpire rule he was hit by a pitch?
Now he does, but I'm not sure Alt didn't talk him into it.
Mike Matheny is yet to go out and argue.
You see Yadier Molina questioning.
Now this becomes a situation, maybe we can get a camera on Mike Matheny and watch how he talks to the umpire. At some point he's going to have to turn around and look inside his own dugout. This is where we don't have arguments really anymore. You just look back into the dugout and say, okay, let's have a nice conversation. Our guys are checking on it. Let's see what the let's see what kind of replay we have.
I mean, I first thought it hit the handle, you know,
That's
right
what
off the
I thought.
end, and I think that's what the umpire thought. But then, reading the body language of the hitter, that way it looked like it did hit him on the hand.
And sometimes those hitters try to sell it.
Sure. And in this case, Mike turned and looked to the dugout, and they said, it's not worth the challenge.
Well, after watching 2 weeks now of replay, I'm starting to wonder why we even have the managers go out and talk about these. Why not just set somebody up near the red hat who's down there for the commercial times, and also they're in sync with the folks in New York, the umpires, and just let them make that call. Let the umpire look over, and that individual will give you the call. Base hit out to left, and this game is tied. So Alt was hit by the pitch, and Castillo drives in Junior Lake to tie it up at 3.
Hero of Friday night comes through again for the Cubs. Castillo, catcher, hitting this ball and just underneath the effort of Peralta. At the very least, he would have saved that run. If he would have got that to that ball, knocked it down, may not have had a play at first, but he would have not allowed the leading runner, Junior Lake, to score. Would have been bases loaded.
Now the go-ahead run is at second base for Edwin Jackson.
Don't take him lightly. You know, he can swing the bat a little bit. Remember, he originally was signed in the 6th round by the Dodgers as an outfielder.
One ball, one strike. The Ford Plaza. Kid takes a healthy rip. Good changeup, and it's 1-2.
Two quick outs in this 4th inning after the rain delay. 2 base hits sandwiched around a hit batter.
And a strikeout of Jackson as Molina holds on. The Cubs strand 2, but they pick up a run. And they've tied it up 3-3 here at Busch.
Ever used a coupon on it?
Of course I have.
I'm not smart enough. Pay full price.
I don't believe it, Al.
Tucci and Fresta make me.
They have hung tough through the rain delay. Peter Borges struck out on 3 pitches, first time up. Michael Wacha, he's on deck. And then the top of the lineup, and Matt Carpenter. Borges hits it down the left field line, and it's out of play.
Milwaukee wins again. Kyle Loesch defeats Charlie Morton. 4-1 Milwaukee over Pittsburgh.
And the Brewers are the first team to get to 10 wins. They're now 10-2. Will be in Milwaukee tomorrow night. Borges, that's fair. Down into the corner, and he's off to the races. This will be a triple easily for Peter Borges.
Slice a ball like that, hits this wet grass and gets around the corner down there. It's an automatic, but he's running on a little soft track too, but he gets over to third with ease. And that's something. See that speed from a Cardinal player. Really does change the complexion. He and Colton Wong with their ability to run. Quick visit by Oquendo to Wacha.
Infield is drawn in. Our score is 3-3. Home half of the 4th here at Busch. A swing and a miss by Michael Wacha. By the way, Al, the Brewers are the 11th team since 2005 to start 9-2 in their first 11. Now 10-2. 5 of the previous 10 have reached the postseason. Strike 2 on Michael Wacha.
I was on the 82 Cardinals that we started out 13-0. And with that start was able to still reach the postseason with a late season collapse because of the early start, or good start.
Wacha, swing and a miss, strikes out. 3 today for Edwin Jackson, and it brings in Matt Carpenter. Matchups beginning tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest. Lance Lynn and Matt Garza in game 1. Tuesday, Shelby Miller and Marco Estrada. Joe Kelly, Willie Peralta. Getaway day on Wednesday. Then it's 4 with Washington, 4 with the Mets. Ryan Zimmerman will miss that series, a broken thumb.
Not often are you disappointed to miss a team's ace, but with Gallardo, the way the Cardinals own him, you are disappointed you don't match up with Gallardo or today's winner, Kyle Loesch, former Cardinal. Great opportunity for Carpenter to drive in his 3rd run of the game.
Singled up the middle with 2 outs and picked up 2 RBIs back in the 2nd. 0-2. Runners in scoring position this season, 3 for 8, 4 RBIs.
Remember, you got a fly ball pitcher on the mound and gets the ball in the air, you're going to guarantee you're going to get a run home.
Infield is drawn in. Does Jackson have that put away pitch here? Key spot in this game. 95 with that fastball.
Tried to overthrow it, got the velocity, but lost the control or command of it. Trying to go up the ladder, get him to chase, but that ball was so high it doesn't. It's an ineffective pitch. I mentioned earlier, Danny, that Jackson can get to 2 strikes, but can he put hitters away?
1-2 pitch. Spoiled by Carpenter. Another fastball at 95. A lot of times that's really, Al, as you know, what separates guys that are hovering around 500, which Jackson has done in his career, or those that are exceptional. And he's got good stuff.
Good stuff, but throws a lot of pitches. The more pitches a hitter sees, the better they get zoned in to the velocity.
The 1-2 in the dirt, blocked by Castillo. Borges back to the bag at third. Inning started with his triple down the right field line.
That's where Carpenter's so tough, because he gets 2 strikes and becomes a much better hitter. More expand the zone often. More pitches you see, the more likelihood you're going to get a mistake.
Two. Carpenter gets the fly ball. Junior Lake, noted to have a very good arm. Let's see it here. It is not in time. Borges with his speed flying down the line, and it's 4-3 St. Louis.
Hit the ball about 300 feet, usually get an RBI. And Lake does have that strong arm.
That's 3 RBIs today for Matt Carpenter.
On deck hitter has a responsibility to help out the runner, determine which way to slide. Now you see Colton Wong down there. He's trying to tell him, go to the infield side. The throw is to the foul territory, so go inside. And good communication between Borges and Wong, and the Cardinals get the go-ahead run.
Colton Wong with 2 outs, trying to bunt his way on. Nothing at 2.
You can see the throws in foul territory, so you can see that he slides for the infield side. Comes right across that plate without a tag.
Anybody else, that play is a lot closer.
Yes. Wong may have been safe, maybe Joe Kelly, but probably everybody else, there's going to be a definite play at the plate.
Cardinals back on top. Carpenter is driven in 3. The other RBI to the man at the plate, Colton Wong. That happened with 2 outs in the second, with a base hit into right to score Carpenter. Count runs full here on Colton Wong. Ground ball slowly hit to Rizzo, to Jackson. The Cardinals get a leadoff triple by Borges into the right field corner. He scores on the sac fly, an RBI from Carpenter. St. Louis leading Chicago. You're in the top of the 5th. Bonifacio, Ruggiano, and Rizzo. 1, 2, 3 in the Cubs lineup. Trying to bunt his way on. Carpenter. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Thank you.
A look at the scoring summary in the first inning. Anthony Rizzo, the first pitch that he saw. 2-run shot, 2-0 Cubs. Cardinals, though, in the second with 2 outs. Carpenter up the middle. That would score 2 to tie it up. After that, it was Colton Wong. Carpenter had stolen a base. That would sneak through on the right side. That makes it 3-2. And then moments ago, the sac fly and RBI from Carpenter to make it 4-3. And here's Justin Ruggiano. Ruggiano singled on a 3-1 pitch back in the first. Scored on the Rizzo home run. He walked in the third, then was picked off by Walkup.
Quite the contrast with how much time it takes Michael Walkup between pitches and Edwin Jackson. It has to send a message to the hitters that, you know, hey, I'm not afraid of you. Get the ball and throw it.
And there's another strikeout. 6 today for Michael Walkup. Fox Tracks brought to you by Plaza Tire.
It was what we talked about, that changeup that looks like a little bit like a screwball as it runs in and down and in to a right-handed batter.
Anthony Rizzo began his pro career with Boston, then was San Diego, traded for Cashner, the hard-throwing right-hander, who, by the way, threw a one-hitter the other night. He's in the rotation for San Diego.
Triple digits pitcher for an everyday player.
One is hit to first, and Adams will take it himself. We're midway through 5. It's Holiday, Adams, Molina due up. A 4-3 lead for St. Louis over Chicago. There's a look at Michael Walkup. Well, his dad is here, and so is Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
Yeah, this is Tom Walkup watching his son. Now, you've seen your son pitch in very high-pressure situations in the postseason. Does it get any easier watching your son pitch in the major leagues?
No, it never gets easy. I think just like every other dad that's out there got their kid throwing today, MLB, college, whatever, it's always a little gut-wrenching.
The one thing that strikes most people outside the talent of Michael, but the maturity, a young guy who doesn't seem to get overwhelmed by the big moments. Mike Matheny says you really don't have to say much. Is that just good, solid parenting?
Well, I'd like to take credit, but that's a lot of him, too. So we've always kind of stressed, you know, just for him to keep yeah.
That ball will drop for Matt Holliday. Last thing before we let you go. We had a shot on the pregame show yesterday of the grandparents, Gary and Mary Lynn. They were seated in section 450. We asked Michael about it live on the pregame show, and he said they came on their own because we thought maybe he could get them better tickets. Is that true?
Yeah, they, you know, sometimes they'll just kind of show up, and that's what happened in that situation. I could tell. I watched your interview that night, and he was surprised when he heard that they were even there. So, yeah, they're nice. You know, they think they'd be bothersome by, you know, hitting him up for tickets and all, but he certainly would get them sitting in good spots.
Great family, a lot to be proud of your son. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, man.
All right, Danny.
All right, good stuff, Jim. Thank you to Mr. Walker. They have another son, Lucas, who's a starting linebacker at Wyoming, and a daughter that's playing high school volleyball and a very good player. Adams grounds into a double play, maybe. And it is 4-6-3. You can see where Bonifacio couldn't get it out of the glove. Eventually he did in a 4-6-3 double play. The Cubs have turned 2 today. Free coffee event at McDonald's. Participating McDonald's restaurants in St. Louis are offering a free small McCafe coffee during breakfast hours now through April 13th. No purchase necessary. Al, I watch my kids, and my son was pitching the other day. He is all of 8, and it's gut-wrenching.
Are you kidding me? I've never heard you talk about your kids.
Well, I don't want to brag.
Really?
Well, I can't imagine, though, watching your son or daughter.
Exactly.
It's such a high level compete. 4-6-3 with the double play. And one of the plays that is not reviewable, you saw it a lot in spring training, the neighborhood play, meaning that you're maybe not on the bag, but around the bag.
Drags his foot across there. In my mind, that's fine. That would be withheld or upheld. But now they're keeping a little closer eye on that. And one of the real problems is, remember, what would constitute a catch in the outfield. You know, it used to be if you would catch the ball, reach into your glove, and in the act of extracting the ball, it fell, it was always a catch. Now they're saying you have to reach in and have control of the ball. And if you don't have control of it and you drop it, then it's a no catch. That's a little different than in the past.
In the neighborhood play, the idea is that 99 out of 100 times professional athletes at this level will make that play, and it's also an idea that you can avoid injury, so it's a part of player safety as well.
I believe it was the Cubs when they were playing in Pittsburgh in the first series of the year that they were involved in a double play at second base, and it was reviewed because, yeah, it was Neil Walker made a bad throw to the shortstop covering, and then they claimed that they could review that part because it wasn't neighborhood. They said the throw pulled the shortstop off the bag, and so there are little situations that you really got to keep your eye on some of these plays, because there may be something that you're not originally you're thinking it's going to be a neighborhood play, but if it's a bad throw, you can have it reviewed. Now they're trying to get together count.
This is reviewable. Counts. So if an umpire would lose the count, and it's something they could go back and look at pitch by pitch of the at bat to make sure that they have it right.
Well, you know what they'll do, and Mike's going to get a clarification right now. What he'll do is he'll go into the Cardinal dugout, and they'll actually call the official score and get the count from the official score.
And again, if they wanted to review it too, they could do that. They could go back and roll back this at bat to see the count and get it right.
3-2.
So 3 balls and 2 strikes. I believe it was Yadier Molina that brought it up to the umpire and said, wait a minute, it's not 2-2, it's 3-2. And it doesn't matter. Strikeout of Yadi. Molina is 1 for 3 today. We're through 5. The Redbirds on top. Shearholtz is 0 for 2. He has struck out swinging and also popped out to third. Mark Ellis, rehab assignment began today. 1 for 3 with a single and a strikeout with AAA Memphis against the Cubs AAA affiliate Iowa. There's that good changeup. Michael Wacha had the 4th highest swing and miss percentage against that changeup in all of baseball last season at 41%.
That one was 84 miles an hour. That's a lot better. Slower speed, setting up the differential between his fastball and the changeup.
And Wacha went to that changeup 28% of his pitches last year, which was the second most behind Chris Capuano, the lefty.
Well, remember when he first came up, he only had 2 pitches. Curveball was non-existent.
Bottom dropped out of that pitch, and a strikeout number 7 for Michael Wacha.
changeup, 87 here. But what also makes it so effective is from the angle that he releases the ball. One, it's the same release point as his fastball, and it just does so much more movement and then that downward action, but it looks just like the fastball.
And it's Starlin Castro. Ground ball that's hit to short. Peralta up with it. 2 down.
And he's getting more and more mileage out of that curveball. So I think you're going to see that the changeup, will come down in percentage. Also, the fastball will probably be a little lower percentage also at pitches thrown in a game.
Junior Lake reached on an air by the third baseman Matt Carpenter, and then singled and scored back in the 4th. Line drive into center. Borges is there. Quick inning for Michael Wacha. And Pops is all smiles. Also a little nervous. Any ideas on that there, Al?
Age.
Wow. Wow.
Much older than he looks, but age.
Wow. Funny, but wow. Here is Craig. Ground ball to the right side. Allen just flips his bat. 1 pitch, 1 out.
That was the safest choice I could have thought of.
Well, Michael Wacha has settled in after the rain delay. Last 7 outs, a total of 13 pitches. And he's had back-to-back 6-pitch innings. Pitch count for Edwin Jackson is at 98. Could be his final inning. He is due up 3rd.
And
activity is happening now in that bullpen for Chicago.
And the same in the Cardinal bullpen. Like Martinez is warming up.
Johnny Peralta at the plate.
Part of Carlos warming up is the fact that where the Cardinals are in the order, the 7th man, if they get a scoring opportunity in a game like this, after Wacha set out with a rain delay, you'd pinch hit for him.
And there's a look at Parker, who was just called up.
Blake Parker out of the University of Arkansas makes his home in Fayetteville.
Wacha is at just over 80 pitches. Outfield is deep, straight away. The 2-2. Peralta on a 3-2 pitch, back in the 2nd, single to left, and scored. The 2-out hit by Carpenter, and also bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. Off-speed pitch is hit high in the air out to left. Junior Lake, 2 down. So it looks like both the starters beginning to settle in right when their days may come to a close. Peter Borges with a triple back in the 4th. Down into the right field corner. And scored the Cardinals' 4th run on the sac fly RBI by Carpenter, who has driven in 3.
love to see the Cardinals add on this inning. And then there's a part of me that wants to see Michael Wacha out there for one more inning of work.
Me too. 1 ball, 1 strike. You would have to think at some point you will see Carlos Martinez if he's up and throwing, if not next inning after that.
Yeah, I would like to see him get through the 7th. And then I think this day would be through, and you would say, hey, left the game in good shape for the bullpen. You'd have Carlos. You have what we call the big 3. Rosenthal, Martinez, and Seagrass.
Coming back from a rain delay, Al, how did your arm react and others when you had 40 minutes or 40 plus minutes? Was it that big of a deal?
It wasn't that big a deal, and in honesty, most of the time those rain delays affected either the starter or middle relief, so I had to wait out more of them, getting a chance to pitch. But it's a mental state of mind.
3rd walk issued by Jackson.
And we are going to see Wacha go out and at least start the 7th inning.
Well, we have a moment. Rounding NL Central, this is updated. Brewers, look at that, 9 straight. Reds, a tough start at home, and Pittsburgh, tough start for Andrew McCutchen. Been nursing a injury, but playing through it as Borges is back in safely. Lights are on here at Busch Stadium. Rain delay was 46 minutes. And strike 1 on Michael Wacha. Wacha is sacrificed. Very good bunt. Runners at first and second in the 2nd inning. Had to deaden it with Anthony Rizzo bearing down on him from first base. Got the runners over, and with that, a base hit from Carpenter to drive in 2, and that's Michael's dad. By the way, Jim Hayes told us that to do that interview, Mr. Wacha agreed to do it, but not when Michael was pitching. I'm not sure he'd be able to do it right now when he's hitting.
A little too keyed up when Michael Wacha's on the mound.
And a strikeout of Wacha. Former Cub, traded to Texas, signed with Milwaukee in the offseason. He's 0-1, and will come your way tomorrow at 6:30. Matt Garza winds up in Milwaukee, Al, because he was on vacation. And the story that we were told is that Garza was offered the same amount of money and length of contract from the Angels. And he was on vacation, and he said, when I'm on vacation, I don't need to be bothered. So the Angels said, well, that's fine, but here's the limit of the time period we're going to give you to sign this. And he said, well, I'm on vacation. So that was pulled, and now he's in Milwaukee.
Well, a lot of pitchers would rather pitch in the National League than the American League with the DH. One, they feel like they're more of an athlete, they're part of the game, but I think it's just that extra bat in a lot of those American League lineups. I think it probably worked out best for Garza. And I know his first start of the year, he pitched very, very well.
Mike Alt, 1 ball, 1 strike. We're in the 7th. The fly ball lifted out to deep right field. Craig is on the move. He won't get it. It's a fair ball, and it's off the wall. Leadoff double for the Cubbies.
Now, Craig played that ball very, very well, but where it was positioned, it's an automatic double, and Craig getting to that ball and playing the carom off the wall, he holds him to the double. Breaking ball out away from him and just slices it off the wall. There he goes and plays that carom perfectly. We weren't expecting that when you're got a 1-run lead, the leadoff double.
Wellington Castillo.
Segrist now throwing in the bullpen, and they're going to stall here.
Cubs on their bench today. One right-handed hitter, Darwin Barney. Everybody else on the left side, that's Sweeney, Baker, Valbuena, and Kalish.
So the pinch hitters they would likely go to are all left-handed. That's why Segrist getting up and ready in a hurry. You got to work on this guy right here.
Wellington Castillo struck out back in the second. Laced a pitch back in the fourth inning to left field for an RBI single. The previous starts, Walker's gone 6 2/3. Both against Cincinnati. 6 innings on opening day, and pitching into the 7th in this ball game. The opening day, meaning the home opener here in St. Louis. That pitch is up. 3-1. Fourth sellout this season. Crowd of 44,135. 4-4-1-3-5.
90 pitches on the afternoon for Walker, but as you said, a couple of these pitches have been up, and it's usually very easy for him to keep the ball down. Even there is a high strike. Curveballs, those cutters, curveballs, things that are getting up there. Old belief is the first thing that goes on a pitcher is his legs. When your legs get tired, your ball gets elevated.
On the outside corner and a strikeout. 8 today for Michael Wacha. Big strikeout there.
No doubt about it. Up and away, and the call goes Wacha's way.
Of the 8, that's the first that's been looking. The other 7 swinging.
Ryan Sweeney pinch hitting here.
So Edwin Jackson right now is on the hook, and after they make the announcement for Sweeney, looks like that'll be all for Michael Wacha, who will get a huge ovation as he exits stage left. It's a lonely feeling, isn't it, Al? I mean, you've pitched well, but it's out of your hands.
And that's it. You know, you're so much in control of a game, and now all of a sudden you got to wait and see what happens here. Segrist has been called in. The Cubs are going to counter, and they're going to go with their only right-handed bat off the bench. That's Darwin Barney. We'll take this trade-off anytime. Segrist facing Barney. Barney, by the way, his career as a pinch hitter is 2 for 19. This year, 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter.
1 out, runner at second. Pretty healthy hack right there. Michael Wacha, 114 pitches, 71 were strikes.
Keep an eye on him, but you know, obviously they're not babying him. Let him go into 114 pitches, and with the rain delay also, you can understand the move. Agree with it. And Dan, I like to, you know, let Wacha at least go out there and and go out there and start the inning. He gets one out, but otherwise you would have earned Martinez already.
By the way, it was 92 pitches for Michael Wacha. We were handed incorrect information. 114.
We thought that'd be a little surprising.
114 for Edwin Jackson. So 92 for Wacha. Here's a 1-2. Carved them up.
Good pitch right there. Siegrist gets his man. Now they'll turn around. Bonifacio, he'll bat. The switch hitter bats right-handed off of Siegrist. Remember the great start that Bonifacio's off to. So his numbers as a right-handed batter are a little gaudy. He's 8 for 15. Usually when you have a switch hitter, their natural side is going to be right-handed. So probably a little more pop in his bat right-handed. And because he's got the great speed, they made him a switch hitter, and he's more of a slap hitter left-handed.
Here's the 0-1. Bonifacio fly to shallow left center on a 3-2 pitch back in the first. Struck out in the third and grounded out in the fifth. The hit leader right now. Hits leader is Emilio Bonifacio in the National League. The 1-1. Joe Williams is the film critic from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and he passes along this note. And I appreciate this. You saw the gentleman with the jersey 6300.
Not his age.
That is not his age. Mr. Ebling is wearing number 6300 on his jersey. He is from local 6300 of the Communications Workers Union, to which many of the TV crews belong. So thank you for passing that along. Good work by Siegrist. Here's James Russell. His dad pitched in the big leagues, used an awful lot in the first couple of weeks. We have not seen him in this series. Talk that he eventually would even close maybe this year or be part of a committee. Jose Veras has been knocked out of that role. It's our Chevy call to the pen. And the Cardinals will send Carpenter, Wong, and Holiday, and then another lefty after that, Adams. So that's why we see James Russell. Cardinals head-to-head since 2001. Or rather, excuse me, since 2011. 13 games above 500 against Chicago. And it played well at this ballpark. We're in the home half of the seventh. Big day already for Matt Carpenter. 3 RBIs. Single with 2 outs to score 2 back in the second. Sac fly to score Peter Borges in the fourth.
Russell's been pretty reliable for the Cubs. He did surrender a 3-run home run to Pedro Alvarez on Thursday.
And a ground ball that's hit to the right side. Rizzo will take it himself for the out.
also busy. His last 3 years with the Cubs, 64 appearances in 2011, 77 in 2012, 74 last year.
Colton Wong is 2 for 3 with an RBI. Slapped a base hit to left, singled to right to score Carpenter in the second, and bounced out to first.
See how he stays in against that slider. Saw for the first pitch here.
Mark Ellis getting very close to returning to the Cardinals, and you wonder, in spots like these, would we see Mark Ellis pinch hitting?
Well, remember, Mark Ellis is very good, has good numbers against left-handed pitching, and one of the best defensive second basemen all time. So I think if it works to Mike's advantage, there'll be times when we'll see that late inning switch. Best thing Colton Wong can do is just keep on battling up there, having tough at bats, get a few hits off these left-handers, and then, like I say, for certain situations you would do it. Mark Ellis is going to be a big addition to that ball club. Just have another veteran on that bench.
One two is in the air. Left field, Junior Lake. Theo Epstein era now in its third season. Results from the first 2 years, 197 games the Cubs have lost. And it's quite the statement when you say that's the worst 2-year period the Northsiders have ever had.
Yeah, it's actually, they lost more the last 2 years than they did 2 years previous to the regime, but I don't think it's undeniable their farm system is much better under the new leadership. Starting to stockpile some position players, still maybe a little weak in the pitching department, but they're starting to see their future, and probably still 2 years away.
What do you think a realistic goal is for the Cubs? 500?
Well, you lost as many games as they have, yeah. I think you got to get to 500 before you can start thinking, you know, you're capable of winning the division.
The Cubs, though, do believe they have the right man for the job at the major league level with Rick Renteria. They gave him a 3-year deal, and there are 2 option years after that.
Strong development man, you know.
Matt Holliday has been on base 4 times. So 2-out walk, and it brings in Adams. Rick Renteria, a number of years with San Diego and Miami.
Yeah, and you know, as I said, he's been in the minor leagues, understands how to develop young players. And I'd have to say, just in our first look, even though we've highlighted Castro with, you know, a little bit indifferent, but everybody else is with the slow pace from Edward Jackson. But in games 1 and 2 of this series, I think we've seen a much more involved Starlin Castro that, you know, he looks like he wants to play. Looks like he's going to have a better approach to playing this game under Rick Renteria.
The 0-1 hit the other way, and it is foul. No argument from Jose Oquendo. That third base umpire is Mike Estabrook.
He's backpedaling on this ball, and it's where it goes over the bag. It lands in foul territory, but did he go over the bag fair? I don't know, we'd have a definitive picture, so he's got the best angle on it, even though he's backpedaling.
Well, 2 outs. Holliday is the runner at first. Adams is flied out to deep left center. Hit a one-hopper on a shift to the third baseman Alt. And then also bounced into a 4-6-3 double play. Runner goes. That's Holiday on his way to second, and they got him. Holiday is caught stealing. That ends the seventh. It's up to the bullpen when we come back. Segrist got the final couple of outs, the top half of this seventh inning. Cardinals trying to hold on. They lead it by a run. Tomorrow night against Milwaukee, Lynn and Garza, Miller and Estrada in game 2, Kelly and Peralta in game 3. Well, Michael Wacha, he struck out 8 here today. It'll be Ruggiano, Rizzo, and Shearholtz. And I think something that we notice is that his velocity was down a bit today, which then didn't offset the changeup as much as we normally see. And the fastball a few times was in the mid-90s, but for the most part he was around 92, 93.
Which is fine, but I think we're still waiting for him to get really going. But the key is he's able to win with less stuff. Lilliquist, I think, has done an outstanding job. A lot of people predicted doom once Dave Duncan left, but we really haven't missed a beat with Lily.
Here's a 1-1. Ruggiano puts it in the air. Deep right center. Borges back with just enough room. See Borges just tippy-toeing as he gets used to this new ballpark.
Segrist has retired all 3 men he's faced. Martinez is throwing in the Cardinal bullpen behind him as he's got the 2 left-handers coming up now.
Here is Rizzo, and a slider is in there for a strike. And that was the pitch that was left up to Rizzo. Ball game on Friday to tie the game up. The shift is on here for Rizzo.
Well, they really have got Alan Craig off the line in right field. Got a bunch of them in the outfield, but
and the fastball is something that, you know, you think about with Segrist. And again, we pointed out, there he is. There's your right fielder. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And there's the fastball again. Going back to the original point we were trying to make beginning of the at-bat, was that Segrist was going with the slider that he got burnt on the other night, and this time he sticks with a fastball, and you wonder if that should have been the pitch the other night.
Well, I'm not going to second guess pitch, because he threw him, it was either 6 or 7 straight fastballs, and then he hung the breaking ball. Now, if he would have thrown the breaking ball like he just did, he would have struck him out the other night also. So it was just, he didn't throw the good one. Get that ball like that down and away, you're not going to hit a home run on it. But you know, he threw 6 or 7 straight fastballs, and it was the fact that it just was not a good off-speed pitch. It hung over the middle of the plate, and that's why it was hit out.
Nate Shearholtz takes the fastball low and away. 2 balls and no strikes. He struck out twice and also popped out.
But you kind of Alan Craig again with a left-handed hitter playing well off the right field line. I think they think that one, he throws too hard. Two, he's not going to make a mistake like he did the other day. He's going to have that good bury that good breaking ball down and away. They're not going to be able to pull the ball into the right field corner. It's all predicated on making good execution.
3-1.
That could have been a strike right there. Just off the plate, but a real good pitch if you're ahead in the count, but now he's run the count 3-1.
Popped up. And Carpenter is there. Segrist gets 5 outs coming out of the pen, and he strikes out 2. Home run yesterday for Adams. He'll lead it off in the home half of the 8th, and he is 0 for 3 today. Parker. Blake Parker is the new pitcher. Luis Valbuena takes over at second. Emilio Bonifacio, his versatility, moves from second to center field, and Reggiano is in right. So Parker's spot is Shearhold's spot in the lineup for Chicago. So Adams has flied out, and Narchevi called to the pen. To deep left center. Hit a 1-hopper to third and grounded into a double play. 2 balls and no strikes. Adams in the air to right, gets underneath it, and the catch is made by Reggiano. Let's take a look at our Mazda game summary. Michael Wacha a chance to win. Good work out of the bullpen by Segrist. Edwin Jackson is on the hook right now. 6 innings, 8 hits. Rizzo the 2-run homer in the first, and the Cardinals tied it up in the second, then took the lead. And they lead now 4-3. There's Rosenthal, gave up the 3-run homer to Wellington Castillo on Friday night. He's getting loose. A little late with that swing is Yadier Molina. So Russell, a scoreless inning in the 7th for Chicago. And now Parker here in the 8th.
I mentioned that Blake Parker is facing Yadi right here. Was recalled today. Made his major league debut with the Cubs back in 2012. Started at Iowa, where he's been the all-time franchise leader in saves there. Had 42 saves to hold that relief save record at Iowa. Originally drafted by Chicago in the 16th round of the 2002 draft.
Outfield is deep, and a 2-1 pitch served into right for a base hit. It's another 2-hit day for Yadier Molina against Chicago, and it's a day that we celebrate Yadier Molina and his 6 consecutive Gold Gloves. Mike Matheny had 3 here in St. Louis, 4 total, and then Tom Pagnazzi.
Always knew he had the ability to go to the opposite field, but so much more dangerous when he goes out there, expands the whole zone, and really a good piece of hitting. Pitch out away from him, didn't try to pull off it, just went with it. Saw Pagnazzi there, and mentioned Blake Parker from Fayetteville and the University of Arkansas. So Pags knows Blake very well.
Pags was on the coaching staff of the Razorbacks for a while and now helping out some of the youth teams in the area.
Got a very good Pagnazzi foundation there. Does a lot of good things for the youth of, I guess, Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville in particular.
The sun has made its appearance for the first time in quite a while here at the ballpark. A little bit low, 2 balls and no strikes.
This is going to be the time that Alan Craig gets something going.
Long look and a 2-0. Runner was going. The hit and run was on. What do you think about doing that with Alan Craig? You take the thinking out of it, what's maybe going through his mind and the struggles that he has had. Craig has walked and scored. He struck out and grounded out.
One of the things a manager can do is try to jump start a guy, as you said, take the thought process out of it. Just put that hit and run on and get him to react to it. But I thought it might be on, just the way he was indecisive looking at that last pitch.
The 2-1. Lined into right. That's a base hit.
That's the Alan Craig we know.
Next time you're looking to pick up great seats to the game, head to StubHub, where you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase. StubHub, your ticket to upgrades and more. Here's Johnny Peralta. Happy 4th birthday to a big Cardinal fan, Tanner Hickert, who's watching on Fox Sports Midwest. Happy birthday to Tanner. So back-to-back singles to right. Here's Peralta. Singled and scored. Back in the second. Bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. And also flied out to left. And time is called as Castillo may want to change the signs with a runner at second base and also go over the quick scouting report here on Johnny Peralta.
Now, what was it you said with a man on second? What was the sign? Better call time, get it under, get everybody on the same page. And it sure wouldn't hurt Peralta or the Cardinals to pad the lead.
Cardinals head to Milwaukee after the game today. The Cubs head to New York. And they'll take on the Yankees Tuesday night. Derek Jeter, by the way, nursing a quad issue. Talk of potentially putting him on the disabled list.
I think I heard Joe Girardi make a comment that I wasn't hired to do a farewell tour for Jeter. It's kind of the balancing act. You got to treat it all with respect, but your job is to win as many games as you can.
2-0.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? When you look at the schedule for the Cubs, they have an off day tomorrow, play 2 games against the Yankees, and have another off day. And then we're in the midst of playing 20 straight.
Two and one. I'm not sure the Cardinals would want to be playing, as you said, in the midst of 21 straight, 20 straight, whatever it is. However, with all the rain delays and off days when they came, this would be the time if you're going to do it. It'd be a little tougher in August.
Well, I mean,
and you know what I mean. These guys are creatures of habit, as we talk about.
You don't need 2 in a week,
right?
And really 2 in 4 days. And somewhere down the line, that's going to, they're going to get into a situation where they're going to play 20 out of 20, and then you wish you had one of those off days during that stretch.
2-1 pitch. 3-1. Also a happy birthday to Gene Steinman, who's watching in Webster Groves today. Happy birthday to Gene. Chance for Peralta here to do some damage with a count of 3 balls and 1 strike. And he does some damage here. Down into the corner. Molina scores. Craig on his way to third. He'll stop there. It's a 2-hit day for Johnny Peralta.
Two more RBIs. His RBI total is up to 6. 2 hits really makes it a lot more pleasant. Hitting the count in his favor. Look at, he gets the ball down and in. He just hammered that ball. You saw the top spin as that ball got down in the corner, and Junior Lake really did a good job to get it back in quickly and only allowed to score 1.
Now it's Borges with the infield drawn in. Runners at second and third. Lots of possibilities here for the Cardinals. Think about Borges. You could do the squeeze, the safety squeeze, and hitting lanes everywhere with the infield drawn in.
John Jay is on deck. Castillo, the catcher, after Oquendo flashed a bunch of signs to Borges, he went out to talk to his pitcher, so they'll remind Parker and middle infielders all the different options that you just talked about. Oquendo then came down and talked to Borges.
Bonifacio is on one knee out center. Now he just gets up. Here's the 0-1. 0-2.
Wesley Wright begins to throw into the Cub bullpen, a left-hander. Got Rosenthal along with Neshek.
The 0-2 is hit to the left side, bobbled at third, and nearly thrown away. Run scores. That's Craig. The Cardinals add to their lead. It's now 6-3.
Infield in, and like Alt playing at third base. You see him even with the bag, comes in on this ball, but it gets away from him, and then the off-balance throw. There's not a force play there, so he's got a tag, and when you make an off-balance throw like that, it's almost impossible you're going to make a good throw, or at least one would be good and be able for the catcher to tag out a runner.
Peralta advancing to third. Borges at first. Still only one out. And here is John Jay. It was Jay and Descalso in game 2 of the series coming off the bench that provided a punch in that offensive attack for St. Louis. It's Chris Bosio, former major leaguer, threw a no-hitter. He'll visit with his right-hander, Blake Parker.
Usually when the pitching coach comes out here, you're not going to make a pitching change. Still could. John Jay has been announced as the pinch hitter.
So John Jay coming off the bench since 2013. This is why we say he's been somewhat of a forgotten man. You have Andrew McCutchen, Carlos Gomez, and then third is John Jay. Most RBIs since 2013 by center fielders. He had a career high in RBIs a year ago.
I remember prior to the last season, he was getting those RBIs out of the leadoff spot.
But last year he had a career best 67, majority of those in the bottom of the order. Runners at the corners with one out. And the Cardinals tack on here. You'll see Pat Neshek pitch the ninth.
Save situation, Rosenthal. If they get one more run or more, then it's Neshek. More pitcher worries about that runner at first. It's probably going to affect his control going to the plate. Usually affects it in a negative way.
Good cut by Jay. It's a season that John Jay not only coming off a career high in RBIs, but also doubles and hits.
About a 294 lifetime hitter.
Yeah, last 4 seasons, 293. Got a good memory there, Hungo. Here's the 0-1. Now it's 0-2. The rare Bob Uecker jersey, the ballpark. Part of the 64 championship team that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of that team.
You'll get to see Mr. Uecker tomorrow night.
He is the voice of the Brewers. And he does not do the game Harry Doyle style. Very straight-laced.
First time I listened to him, I was disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, he is hysterical.
Oh. I grew up with him on Johnny Carson's show.
Right.
Mr. Baseball, and if anybody's old enough to see any of those clips, he was hysterical.
He appeared on Johnny Carson more than anybody.
Yeah, and Johnny Carson loved it. That was half the fun of it, just watching him laugh.
You know, Uecker, when he did his Hall of Fame speech, no prepared notes, just went up there and winged it for 20 minutes and nailed it. One-two to John Jay. Little flare. That's caught by Castro. Pitching change for Chicago. We'll tell you about it when we come back. Wesley Wright, our Chevy, called to the pen. So Wesley, for a number of years with Houston, at one point he was a Rule 5 pickup. And now working out of the pen, one of 2 lefties for the Chicago Cubs.
Crowd should be clapping for Matt Carpenter, but there was 3 little kids that were putting on a pretty good little dance routine, entertaining the crowd during the pitching break.
Runners at the corners for Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter with 3 RBIs today, 1 for 3. Runners at first and third. A check on Peter Borges. as he picked up an RBI moments ago.
Very nice little championship flag that was erected opening day. 19th National League champions. 19th in the history of the Cardinals.
Play on Borges was a error on Mike Alt, but he did get the RBI. So 2 outs, and here's a 1-0 pitch from Wesley Wright. 1-1. That's ripped, but Rizzo is there. Could not hit that ball any harder. Cardinals pick up 2. It's 6-3. Well-pitched game for the Cardinals and Wacha, Segrist. We know what he's done behind the plate, but also what he's done against Chicago over the years. And in recent games, he's made some history. Most consecutive games against an opponent with 2 or more hits and a run scored, including today. It's 8 in a row against Chicago for Yadier Molina. Pujols against Cincinnati, Lou Brock against Pittsburgh, and Frankie Frisch 1931 against the Phillies. Here's Starlin Castro. Castro is lined out, grounded out, struck out. Rosenthal is our Chevy Colt to the pen. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Gave up the 3-run home run on Friday night. Still looking to be perfect in the save situation. 3 for 3 this year.
Seems like he's been entrenched in this spot, but 3 saves he has now. That matches his regular season total from last year.
He did an outstanding job. He was a setup man. Then when towards the end, Mojica started just kind of wore himself down, went to Rosenthal, and then he was electric in the postseason.
4 saves in the postseason run.
Last 2 years, he still has yet to give up a run in postseason.
Over 100 strikeouts. He had 108 last year in the regular season. That was 3rd best among relievers. And he strikes out Starlin Castro.
It's the 11th strikeout by the Cardinals pitching staff today. You can get hitters to go after that fastball up there, they have no chance. The very best they can do is pop it up.
Junior Lake. Look at that glove popping up here. It's a 6-pitch first inning for Trevor Rosenthal on Friday night. Winning run at second base. The Cardinals elected to have Rosenthal hit for himself. And a move that backfired. And the Cardinals lost game 1. Wellington Castillo would hit a 3-run homer. Yesterday it was the very good pitching by Adam Wainwright, and today the Cardinals with Wacha, Segrist, and Rosenthal, the young guns of St. Louis. And this is well hit into right center field. Borges on the move, can't get to it. Junior Lake on his way to 3rd. 1-out triple.
good part of the bat and just a little bit short with the reach of Borges. Junior Lake is kind of an intriguing player. He's had some success at the big league level. Got the good throwing arm. Looks like he can run, and he's got some pop in his bat.
Micah Alt with one out. He has doubled, was hit by a pitch, and then popped out to Colton Wong. Two and 0. There's a rope into center field. Makes it 6-4, and the tying run comes to the plate. That ball was smoked.
I've noticed it's at least the third time in a row that Rosenthal's velocity is down. Sure, it's 95, 96, but they're teeing off on it. Not like it was 98 and above. And just a little bit of difference in that velocity. Does have secondary pitches he can go to. A very good changeup, breaking ball there.
And look who it is at the plate. Wellington Castillo. 3-run homer, won it for the Cubs against Rosenthal on Friday night. Pitch at 96, 0-2. Rosenthal would love a double play.
Starting him off with a curveball, and then now the fastball. Bunching him. Not real deep in the outfield either, are they?
And did he hit him? I believe he did. He did. Castillo hit by the pitch.
Oh, he's not hitting him to put on, to bring the potential go-ahead run on the mound or at the plate. John Baker is running, one catcher for the other. A little tick, it seemed like, before it hit the glove.
Yep. And it has gotten awfully interesting now as Luis Valbuena will be the hitter for Chicago.
I don't know if you heard Dan, but John Baker is running for Castillo.
Cubs are down to one position player on their bench. That's Kalish. Runners at first and second. Now time is called.
Valbuena is 1 for 2 off of Rosenthal with 2 walks and 1 strikeout.
And a changeup in there at 85 miles an hour.
Throw that changeup 85 and then your fastball 95 and above. You got your 10 or 11 miles an hour differential that is optimum.
0-2. He had Castillo at 0-2.
And one of the things is we saw these flamethrowers coming out of the Cardinal bullpen a year ago. They all did such an exceptional job. But if you look around the league, everybody's coming up with flamethrowers coming out of the bullpen, so it's not a novelty anymore.
The 0-2.
Martinez in the Cardinal pen, Veras in the Cubs pen.
Two balls and two strikes. Watch out. Said he's all right. Better man than me. In the air, center field. Borges under it to make the catch, round number 2. This will be 20+ pitches for Rosenthal. Our Budweiser player of the game is Michael Wacha, as Trevor is trying to finish it off. Emilio Bonifacio.
Hits leader starting the day. You got to be careful with him.
Bonifacio hitless today, 0 for 4.
And you talk about the pitch total getting up there, and it's 22 now. I think Rosenthal's big and strong. I don't think that really affects him that much. And we're talking about tomorrow. Down to the last strike. Be smart with an 0-2 count. Bonifacios had one at bat against Rosenthal and he struck out.
The Cubs down to their final strike. The 0-2. Bonifacio stays alive.
97 on that fastball. That's the highest he's thrown on this homestand. And it's not uncommon for a lot of hard throwers to be down in velocity a little bit in April.
Will this be the pitch that ends it? It's a ground ball to the right side. Handled by Wall. And the Cardinals hold on 6-4. They take 2 of 3 against Chicago.
We talked about it. The key was to win this game, this series, have a good series, and get off to a good start on a tough road trip coming up, starting tomorrow night in Milwaukee.
Missouri Lottery, Cardinals Live. The postgame show is next. St. Louis holds on. They beat the Cubbies 6-4.